President Aoun for agreeing to participate and for being my personal inspiration around innovation, as well as I know many people in the room, but it's very true. And as a leader that I know looks around the corner regularly, and when I think I finally have where the line of sight is going, sees beyond it. Could you just talk generally on the way you think higher ed and learning is changing, particularly over the next decade?
So first, I want to thank Philly for inviting me here. So she told me it's going to be a talk, but she didn't tell me it's going to be a TED talk, so I'm going to remove my tie. I have to do that first, if it doesn't fit. The second thing I want to mention before I start is that this day today was absolutely phenomenal because it showcased what all the innovations and the novel thinking that is happening and throughout the university. And I'm talking about throughout the university because it's anchored by the Professional Advancement Network, but I saw many endeavors being presented from other places. So it's really focusing on the fact that ultimately, whenever innovation starts in one place, it spreads to the other. And there are no limits to that. So when we look at higher education, and no one can predict the future. So that's why I can freely talk about it. Because who can contradict me? But when I look at higher education now, and I look at a system that has focused a lot on two dimensions. One is the undergraduate dimensions, the 18 to 22. And the other is the PhD and research. So that's the overwhelming paradigm. And I think this paradigm today is incomplete, insufficient, and not very relevant. Because we are always going to focus on the undergraduate education. We're always going to focus on PhD/research, but it's not enough. We are in the middle of an enormous change, enormous revolution. You all know about it. Our whole academic plan and strategic plan is about that. We're talking about robots eating jobs, intelligent systems eating jobs, and therefore, no one is set for life. If no one is set for life, why? Because we can become obsolete, and we are becoming obsolete. We need endeavors that will help us retool, refocus, and restart. And higher education has essentially said, I'm not interested in lifelong learning. And that's our opportunity. So by looking at lifelong learning, we're looking at it as a club, and we're looking at providing opportunities from K to grade. If you look at me and you say, K to grade, that's new. Well, you heard about the entrepreneurship that's going to start in the high schools, for the high schools. You're going, you saw and you're practicing opportunities constantly for people who are long on experience, short on time. Lori, let me mention something. Every time somebody in the corporate world says that we are launching a university, I look at it as our failure in higher education. We failed to meet your needs, and that's why you had to do it. When I wanted to design a new tie, I went to PVH. Actually, you know why? Because Henry Nacella is a lead director at PVH. He said, your ties don't look good. So I said, can you do better? I challenged him, and he said yes. So we had a great deal with PVH from an aesthetic point of view, and also from a design point of view, and from a cost point of view. So we didn't design our own ties. That's not our core competence. So look at our failure in higher education. So that's our opportunity. Every time you see a gap, there is an opportunity. So if you look at what's going to change, you are at the vanguard of it. Lifelong learning is going to cover the whole higher education, and I keep saying that higher education can become like the railway industry, and that's the risk. When the railway industry started, they looked at the airline revolution, and they said, this is not us. Our business, our model is the railway transportation. They didn't define themselves as being a transportation company. They missed it. And we, in higher education, are missing the lifelong learning, and frankly, that's why you saw also the for-profits starting. So that's our opportunity, that's what you are doing. That's why I believe that you are at the core.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that, if we think about a lifelong partnership with our learners, that we're there for them when they need it, are there characteristics of that kind of enterprise that you think sort of fall into that? One you mentioned, it's like a club. Are there other things that we should be thinking about to create that kind of role?
Look, we look at the, as I mentioned, in terms of lifelong learning, at learners, at people who are short on time, long on experience. Therefore, we cannot afford to think about our offerings in our terms. They have to be done on their terms. They have to be short, they have to be impactful, they have to be stackable. So the boot camps, the certificates, the stackable certificates are essential. Similarly, I cannot build something and tell a learner, come to me. I have to go to her. That's why we have created all these campuses. And we are going to create more in Europe, in Asia. And our opportunity will be to provide learning wherever the learner is. But also, we are going to provide opportunities for people who are mobile, for people who may start in one campus, but then their jobs will move them to another area where we have another campus, Toronto, London, Asia. They need to be able to be mobile. See, look at what you have done today with the presentations. The presentations, you came back to headquarters, correct? Several of you came back to headquarters. Well, imagine a situation where we have even more. We don't want the notion of headquarters anymore. We can connect virtually. This endeavor, that for your HR orientation, you had to come here. Imagine a situation where in 30 countries, it doesn't make sense to come back to headquarters. So I hope that the notion of headquarters will disappear. And then Boston is a node among other nodes. And so it provides the learner with opportunities that other places don't have, and that's why we're building the first global university system. And our undergrads are going to benefit from that in terms of co-ops. We are going to benefit from that in terms of the partnerships. And we have to start thinking, and we had discussions 5 years ago about going multilingual. It's time to start thinking about it again. So you see, the world is a limit. Once we reach Mars, then we can have the universe, we can have a satellite there. And I need good Calvin Klein suit for that, space suit.
So we're going to open it up rather than the question's all coming from me. I have more, but I'll use the president's line because I love it. Keep the question short so the answer can be longer, okay? So who has the first question? Yes.
When you're in a leadership role, the old metrics of success don't apply to you because you're forging new ground. What are some of the metrics of success that you think we'll be using internally and externally to verify that we're making progress?
You know, we have been, actually it's a great point because, you know, in some ways, when you look at our endeavor as a whole system, we have traditional endeavors where we have traditional metrics, you know, research funding, for instance, is one, etc. But even there, we are looking at a different approach. For instance, you all know that we are all working on the notion of expanding experiential PhDs to include, to experiential education to include PhDs. Now, by doing that, we are departing from the traditional norms in higher education where essentially if I educate a PhD person, then I want her to go to academia. Whereas here we're saying you can go to academia, or you can go to the industrial world, do research, do corporate world, head HR like Lori as a PhD. So the metrics, we have to be very clear on what we are measuring. We are going to be measured by traditional matrices, and we are going to set our own metrics here. So for instance, higher education has been focusing on input measures. You know, clearly we are part of that. We look at it, we play the game, we are assessed by that. But the opportunities that you are all seeing and that you are building, not only through competence, but through others, is to look at output measures. You know, we are a service endeavor. We serve our learners. Are they happy? Are they satisfied? But are they coming back? Because if we want them for life, that's a metrics. Third aspect, if you ask every university who are your clients, I hate the term clients, but after 2 seconds they tell you is the students. For us, we serve the corporate world and the learners. And we want this triangle to come together. That's the meaning of experiential education. So that means that when we look at satisfaction, we're not looking at the satisfaction of the individual learners only, but the satisfaction of people who are going to employ them. The day they don't take our co-op students, that's our failure. The day they don't recruit our students, and you know we have the best job placement in the country, that's our failure. The day they start a university, that's our failure. So we have to do it together. And we have to refine it constantly because the demand and the needs are changing. And we shouldn't be afraid of that. That's more important. When I came here 10 years ago, we were being accredited. And people were fretting. You know, people who are working on accreditation. Mary was leading it, but Mary was not fretting because she doesn't fret about anything. She's like a sphinx. And I said, but listen, accreditation will look at the lowest common denominator, nothing more. We are way beyond it as an institution. We have to define our own accreditation. And in fact, indeed, that's what we did. You know, when we went to other places, to other cities, to other states, to other, we had to push. So that's my answer. We define them, we refine them, we test them, we measure them, and we're ready to change if we fail.
Other question?
In your opinion, what is the difference between training and education?
What's the difference?
Training versus education.
You see, in some ways it's a false dichotomy. Higher education created a dichotomy between learning to live and learning to earn a living. So, I don't even know what the distinction means. Why? So, people will say, it's only the liberal arts. Some other will say, it's only the skills. So first of all, skills by themselves are not enough. An engineer doesn't become a leader in the company or in the organization or the corporation because he's a good engineer. Or because she's a good engineer. They become leaders because of the human factor. So, first of all, I think it's a false dichotomy. Second, if we believe that in the next 10 to 15 years, 45% of the jobs we know are going to disappear. And I'm not talking about the muscle jobs. I'm talking about jobs, people like accountants. Many of the legal aspects will disappear, etc. You have a list. Then, McKinsey had a study on that. And, Rudolph Martin is happy because he said, my job is going to disappear. What am I going to do? You have lists at McKinsey, all the, government studies, Accenture, etc. So, what does it mean? It means that it's a wake-up call for education because we have to provide a robot-proof education because robots are eating our jobs, intelligent systems are eating our jobs. So how do we provide a robot-proof education for people who are short on experience, long on time, or undergrad? Well, if we give them only skills, it's going to be obsolete. Some will disappear. If we give them only liberal arts values that I believe in, that's not enough. You have to bring the two together. So I call it the new literacy. Every student coming out of Northeastern, she should know about coding, that's becoming like typewriting. She should know about data literacy, about the tech code, data literacy. She should know more and more about what makes us unique with respect to the machines. The human attributes, what are they? Being entrepreneurial, being creative, being innovative, being culturally agile, being diverse, being ethical. Have you met many ethical computers? So we need both. And after they leave, they are not set for life. The mistake that we are conveying in higher education is that you're set for life if you have a BS or an MS or a PhD. No one is set for life because those are disappearing. That's the beauty of what you are doing. So look at it even from the point of view of people staying with you for life. Sometimes people ask me, are you worried about the fact that the number of applicants will shrink because the demography of 18 to 22. First, for us, it has increased. We received this year 54,000 applications, an all-time high. But even if it decreases, we have the whole world. We have the whole world waiting for us because we are providing lifelong learning. So, going back to your point, Christos, I think there is no distinction between the two because I don't understand what they represent. I think what is really, it's important to go beyond these artificial dichotomies and focus on the new challenges. And that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. The challenges is, okay, jobs will disappear, competence will become obsolete. How are we responding to that?
One more question from the crowd? Don't feel pressured. Come on. Yes, Joe.
I was wondering, in your mind, how must faculty evolve so that we as faculty are meeting?
It's a great question. Did you all hear the question?
No.
Okay. You know, how should faculty evolve? That's the question, to meet the new needs. Look, in the same way that jobs will disappear, we can become obsolete, by definition. So it's not faculty only, it's faculty, staff, all of us. For instance, we are facing a new reality, but also we are facing new customers, if you want, our students. What worked 5 years ago doesn't work today. You know it more, you know. They come knowing exactly what they want. They look at the material on the web. They are rooted in the real world with co-op. They challenge you when they come back because they know more about certain things that you do. So we all have to change. I am against mandating any change. It's crazy because then it becomes artificial. What we have done is to say, look, who are the innovators? Who is coming up with new ideas? Who is looking at the world differently? Let's find a way of empowering them and let them become the proof, the model. The mistake that we make in higher education is that every time we want to change, we want to vote on it. We want a consensus. That's crazy. That's crazy. Whereas here, what we have done over the years is to, say, okay, let the pioneers lead us, let them succeed, and it's okay if they fail. And once they succeed, they are bringing the others with them. Let me give you a concrete example that some of you lived. Carla Bradley is here. She wasn't part of the institution then, but the first adopters, I'm talking here, the innovators are the first adopters. The first adopters for online education were CPS by definition. And then they worked with computer science, the College of Computer Science, and some faculty came, loved it, and they went back and they said to their colleagues, it changed the way I even think about my traditional courses. Seamus is shaking his head. Yes. If it were no, he will not do it. He's too polite. So let me give you a contrast that with another institution in New York. The faculty voted not to allow any faculty to experiment with online education. They voted on that. But it's anti-academic freedom. It's crazy. And that's the beauty of being in our environment. If we believe in experiential learning, we need to constantly experiment, refine, learn. You mentioned that being a learning organization, we're a learning organization, so that's fine. We don't mandate any changes, it's artificial. Let the ecosystem create the opportunities for change, lead the way in telling us this is what's needed today, and move on. That's what's happening. Susan Ambrose and Chidam and Cami and their teams came and made presentation on how they track the students, for life. How each student is in charge of her destiny and how they shape it, and they build this. This is exciting. Was it a mandated change? No. That's the beauty of our day today. That's what you have done. You are here, you're innovating, not because there is a mandate, but because there is a will, there is a desire, and that's your creativity, your ownership. Thank you.
One last question, and it's on a personal level. So we have in the audience today, and myself included, we have people that are new to innovation. They've been operational leaders. We have some that are seasoned at innovation and they're applying it in new ways. You're an innovator, you truly are. What do you do personally to sort of keep pushing your own ideas, your thinking, to look at the environment differently? What can you tell
First
us?
of all, I disagree with what Philly said.
That's not unusual.
I disagree because in a way, well, whether we realize it or not, we're all innovating in one way or another. And I can give you examples, and you won't call them innovation, but they are innovation. They are innovations. So that's one thing. The second thing is that every move we make individually and collectively, or semi-collectively, is a strategy. So we made the decision to do certain things and not to do others. So, for instance, we all made the decision not to have undergraduate teaching except in Boston. Why? Because we believe in a residential model, etc., etc. Okay? So, why am I mentioning that? Is that behind every innovation there is a strategy. If you decide to move into online experiential, that's a strategy. If you decide not to move into online experiential, that's a strategy. So behind every innovation there is a strategy. So bring the strategy to fore. Second, be paranoid. Don't drink your Kool-Aid. Don't drink our Kool-Aid. We have enormous success in this institution. But we're happy but not satisfied. You keep hearing me mention that. So understand the strategy behind every move you make. Be happy with what you're doing, not satisfied. And third, don't look at higher education for a source of innovation only. Higher education is very conservative. We want to change the world, but we don't want to change ourselves. And that's the beauty of being at Northeastern. So look at the innovations happening elsewhere, in companies, in international organizations. I visited India. They had 1 million NGOs. Each NGO is innovating in one way or another, either in terms of feeding people or in terms of making them entrepreneurs. Learn from that. We learn from that. I learned in India, for instance, even in education, that our system, that is the best system in the world, is not transferable and it's not adaptable. And somebody told me that, walked me through that. Said, your system is too US-centric, it cannot be exported, it's too inflexible and too expensive. So I saw endeavors where they are providing education for pennies, and I'm talking about pennies. This is a phenomenon of reverse innovation. You know about that. Well, that's the world is going to push you to learn. What we have done in higher education is to export our model. So we went to Abu Dhabi, we went to Qatar, we went to China with the same models. And it's not working. And that's what we are doing, the opportunities. So in order to innovate, you have to be humble. You have to listen. The soupçon, a little bit of paranoia is good. And bring before your strategy. Understand that every move you make or you don't make is a strategy. So what is the strategy? And that's the beauty of what has been done here, what you are doing. When we started thinking about, what is now called the Professional Advancement Network, if you tell me, did we know anything, really, about what it will morph? And that's the beauty, because now you're in charge, you own it. You're the head of the concept, of the strategy, and of the innovation, because you're shaping it. You're way beyond what we dreamed of before. So it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.